In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some potential major snowstorms and also major cold air on the way for later on around the midpoint of the month of February. So we're going to be going over that today. Let's dive into things. Things obviously look a little bit different as I am adding my face here. I did my whole face reveal thing, and it creates a little bit more of a personalized experience. I always didn't do it because I've kept my kind of anonymousness. I don't know what the correct word is for that, but I've kept that kind of private. I've gone ahead and made that more public, so why not just show my face in it? I feel like it helps out the video to be a little bit better anyway. So we're going to dive in. Let's not even act like it's that crazy. I would rather just move on like normal. It's just going to be an addition here for most of my upcoming videos for the time being, and we'll see how things go. You guys, by the way, I did want to mention this. You guys did help me a lot, obviously, with my mom's GoFundMe. I mean, that was absolutely crazy. That was absolutely just so unexpected. I do want to let you guys know that if you email directweathercontact@gmail.com, I'm going to be starting to share more GoFundMes. I want to give back, and I want to allow other people's GoFundMes to be seen. I did share one down in the pinned comment down below that is not my own or my mom's, that you guys can check out, read about, and feel free to donate. Of course, I want to help others that are in need in medical situations, but not only that, maybe financial situations and among other things. So be sure to check out that one down there in the pinned comment. Let's just dive into things. And as we take a look, this video is going to be coming out at a good time today, I'm happy to announce. So we're going to be taking a look here at the day of recording here. We don't do that a lot anymore, but this is Friday today on February 2nd. We do have a lot of activity in the west, some activity in the northeast here where we do have some minor snowfall happening, some minor rainfall in some lower elevation and more coastal areas. It's a little bit of a mixed bag of precipitation down there in the northeast. I guess that would be up there. Out west, we do have some more major storms. We have 1,004 offshore of the Pacific Northwest. We have a 997. It's hard to see there, but it is located over northern Colorado. That is our primary low right there. And these are all kind of working together. We even have 1,006 down there for Texas to create this widespread precipitation area here for the entire Southwest and some of the Pacific Northwest as well. Same story out here. It is rainfall in the lower elevations and the more coastal areas. That tends to be even more of the case almost every time for the West. And we can see that there is plenty of snowfall for a lot of the Sierra Nevada, the Cascades, and even into the Rockies. They're even heavier in some spots, especially the closer you are to this primary low right there. So for Colorado and Utah, we see even heavier snowfall occurring. I want to just take us towards tomorrow afternoon here on Saturday, February 3rd, and we can see some even heavier snowfall developing here for Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, as all of this activity is all kind of coming together. We have 1,001 secondary low over Wyoming there, but our primary low is now located in between New Mexico and Texas there. And again, these are kind of tag teaming to create this pretty major storm. We do have a bit of a frontal boundary out here to the east. Expect thunderstorm activity and heavier showers along that. It's crazy to think, but I mean, we're in the beginning of February. And we should start to see more spring-like conditions prevail at times. That doesn't mean that the snow and cold is coming to an end, but where it is warmer, things are warming up even more with humidity, the higher temperatures overall, and thunderstorms are going to become a lot more of a factor. And as you know, by the time we're reaching into March, I mean, that's for sure going to be a big factor, and especially April and May. So we are creeping upward, not downward anymore. So more spring-like storms like this are going to become more and more common every single week. By the time we reach Sunday here on February 4th, what we see is another heavy storm system moving onshore to California there as a 997. We have a 995 over Florida and Georgia here as well. So two major storm systems here across the United States. We are seeing some heavier rainfall for the lower elevations and for the coastal areas of California. No surprise there, but heavier snowfall in the Sierra Nevada mountains. And it is extremely heavy this time around, so keep that in mind. We have pretty far stretching precipitation due to this low right here. I don't know how associated this northern stuff is with it, but it is all connected. I would say for sure all of this activity here is associated with this low. And again, we can expect showers and thunderstorms along both sides of this storm, but especially the southern side. expect thunderstorm activity here for Florida and a lot of the Yucatan Peninsula, and then even areas like Jamaica and Western Cuba there. If you happen to be viewing from those areas, that's not really a key demographic for me by any means, but maybe there's somebody out there. By the time we reach Monday on February 5th, we see this low is still a 997, bringing some pretty widespread precipitation down here to the southeast and offshore of the Gulf and the southeast coast there. We are seeing a lot of activity due to this. Still, warmth is prevailing in the east and central states by the 5th. Again, we don't expect that to change too soon by any means. We do see that overall storminess is still prevailing out west. There's 1,002 over Idaho, and I know that's a weaker low, but overall, there's some pretty broad low pressure for the entire western region of the United States, and that's why we're continuing to see snowfall for the Cascades, Sierra Nevada, and the Rockies, which has been a big trend here over the past few weeks even, as we've had this kind of very, very strong atmospheric river just kind of moving onshore to the west. So that's why all these storms are moving directly onshore with a lot of precipitation, a lot of moisture, and they're moving quite quickly as well. By the time we reach Tuesday here on the 6th, again, we're still seeing this warmth prevailing, especially in the central states, but even in the eastern states. Definitely that's still a factor, and we have cold air pouring into the west, which is classic of a negative PNA, so the jet stream should be doing something along these lines, which it is. We continue to see strong storminess now kind of coming from this direction. A lot of humidity, a lot of moisture moving in from that southwest area up the Rockies now. So again, for lower elevations, expect rainfall. Higher elevations, heavy snowfall over the next few days and even weeks here. Wednesday on February 7th, what we're seeing is a lot of snowfall throughout, again, the Rockies and into the northern plains here with these storms, but still rainfall for the more coastal and lower elevation regions of the west. Pattern hasn't really changed. We'll dive into it once it is. And really, it's not until we reach Thursday here on the 8th that we're seeing signs of change. A lot of the storminess isn't directly along the west coast. It's shifting towards the Four Corner states up into the upper Midwest here. So I'd say that's the heart of the precipitation. And really, all of this is going to want to just shove its way eastward, and it's going to bring the cold with it. This warmth, even though it's very strong by Thursday, the 8th, should begin to also move out. And then we should see warmth build in for the west, which is going to be more of a positive PNA look, which is just going to help everything to basically move eastward. Even the warmth is going to move eastward, the cold is going to move eastward, and we're going to see warmth move eastward onto the west coast. So let's keep going. We'll see that happen by Friday. We've seen it move quite a bit, or at least tilting differently. By Saturday, look at this. I mean, we're seeing the really beginning signs as we see warmth move onshore to the southwest. Classic positive PNA, like I said. The heart of this warmth has clearly moved offshore and into the Atlantic. And then we've seen the heart of this cold really dive eastward as it's continuing to make that move. So definitely the 10th is a big benchmark in the upcoming pattern. I would say that that's a time to expect big time change here. We do have some more major storminess onshore for not only Western Canada, but down into the northwest of the United States here. And we can expect this to likely pour in with that cold and potentially cause some activity in this area. So we're going to be watching for that. We also do have pretty ample amounts of precipitation moving along the eastern front of this trough here. And whenever you see that, you are watching for potential snowfall, especially, again, right where we're seeing the mixture of that moisture and the cold air. So we will be watching for some minor implications along that, but I don't expect anything too crazy. And we only continue to validate this pattern, especially on this frame here on the morning of Sunday, February 11th. Again, a lot of high pressure that you can see here. We see these two areas of high pressure. And this is all indicative of warm, dry conditions, and especially, and even more importantly, a positive PNA, which is going to continue to allow this cold to pour into the east. The jet stream is moving over top of all of this high pressure and therefore diving eastward. Again, another important factor is we have this pocket of cold air here, as we also have this ample amount of moisture moving northward and coming close to interacting with that cold air here. So that's going to be kind of your red flag that we do have some potential developments happening later on. Now, it's as we take a look at the GFS model that we learn a lot more here, because we're going to get further into it. So we're going to be able to see past that point here on this model. Again, we're approaching the 7th, 8th, 9th, and look at this pattern change that we see. The cold starts to move eastward, the warmth moves eastward offshore of the eastern United States, and we're going to start to see warmth build for the west here after the 10th. So keep watching, and we'll see all of this develop right there. And we actually get a storm along it here on this model for the 14th, 999 right there offshore of the mid-Atlantic, and this causes a northeast snowstorm. And we even have a major low underneath. It's going to be our next potential event filling right in. We see this warmth building for the southwest. Again, that's going to be a positive PNA. And overall, the cold is getting sent eastward. So it does look a little different. I'm not going to lie. The cold looks a little bit more promising on the European model. But we're definitely seeing similar things here on the GFS. It's just coming in a little bit more, I don't even know what the right word would be. It's just a little different, honestly, a little more unconventional. But we are getting these storms along it, probably due to that kind of strangeness overall. And we get a 980 with that second low offshore of the mid-Atlantic now. And this is bringing heavy snowfall inland for states like Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia there. Keep in mind, and you've probably heard me say this a million times by now, but take this with a grain of salt. This is very far out. And, when we're looking at the GFS model in the extended range, the details aren't that important. It's highly unlikely that we see something even really remotely close to the specifics here. I would say the thing to really take away from this is both models have cold moving eastward. The GFS happens to have more low pressure systems moving along it. And those are things that can carry through and be accurate even beyond, the 10-day range or even the 15-day range. It's really when you look into the specific details, I think a lot of people watch the videos and they expect exactly this to be accurate. But that's not a good way to look at these things. The much more accurate way to look at it would be to say, okay, we have low pressure systems expected and we have cold air expected. How those two interact, where they're located, the timing of it, that's what's going to change significantly run after run. But hopefully we continue to see the cold moving eastward and we continue to see low pressure systems. That's much more of something that these models can pick up on much further out when you look at it from a broader picture overall. We even, we start to see maybe another low develop here. It's trying to get something going where we see some snowfall inland again, but we don't really get it to come through, and that would be around the 17th, 18th. I will say, this is a picture perfect pattern. We have this triple high pressure system. We have one right there, one right here, as you can see, and one right here. So very stacked high pressure out here, stretching far north into Canada. That's huge because the cold that would be over Western Canada is now being poured into the eastern states. The taller that positive PNA is, usually the more significant it's going to be. And we have a lot of cold air pouring into this eastern region as a result of it. So we see this. And also another thing I like to see is we have a lot of moisture down here, and there is a clear southern jet moving somewhere like this. So if we can get this precipitation moving along that jet, we could get a lot of interaction in this area. So that's all really, really good signs. So obviously we did see this model pick up on multiple snowstorms in the east, but if that's not accurate, which again, it's highly unlikely that that's going to be completely accurate. The good news here is cold and low pressure systems. That's the two puzzle pieces you want to see in the long range for cold and snow. Now let's take a look at the total precipitation. We have a ton out west. That's been the story for weeks now. No surprise there at all. The deep south and southeast continuing to see more. Again, that's another factor that we've seen. But we are seeing amounts increase here for the northeast. Even though they're not crazy yet, we are seeing this kind of trending up, which is going to be overall good news. And I would expect us to see, day over day, more and more popping up here on this model for the mid-Atlantic and northeast. Total snowfall in the European, we still don't get a actual snowstorm in this area, so no surprise that there is no snowfall popping up in the east. We can see that there is some more minor snowfall that does take place across the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and the Northeast, but nothing as far as plowable snowfall is concerned, so keep that in mind. All the activity and all the cold during this model run, except for maybe the last day or two on this model run, is located over the west, so there's no surprise that we see gargantuan amounts out west and hardly anything, if not anything, over the east. Now let's continue on. I want to take a look at the GFS models. Total snowfall here. And as you can see, we do have a couple. I think the particular model run that we used was this one here. But really it's the same story either way. I can go through every single one. The West, we expect a ton. It's mostly this area that's up for debate. So we can go through all the model runs. I want to show you how much these vary actually. So here's the 12Z yesterday. Here's the 18Z, which comes out in the afternoon and evening. Here's the 0Z overnight. So again, look at the trend. Great Lakes, Northeast, at least seeing snowfall on almost every single one of these. Here's the 6Z, which is the one that we used, and now we have this one that's come out while I've been preparing this video, and we still have snowfall popping up in the upper Midwest and Great Lakes. the Northeast, and even parts of these Appalachian Mountains in the Mid-Atlantic. So overall, you can see how drastic we're seeing this snowfall shift within this region from run to run. Again, I'll keep changing them. It changes significantly the location, but what stays true through all of this? This is a good lesson here. What is true about every single one of these particular model runs that comes out? And you'll really conclude that the thing that is true about all of these is that there is snow. It's just the location, the timing, and amounts that are varying. But there's cold, there's lows, that equals snow almost every single time. It's just the specifics that we're going to take days to really nail down. So that's a actually good way to apply that lesson there. Let's take a look at the upper air temperature. Keep in mind, this is not at the surface. This is at the 850 millibar height, which is pretty high up. Definitely nothing you're going to be feeling at the surface, but these upper air patterns, especially when we see cold building into areas, which we will see it build into the east here, you know, cold air sinks, warm air rises. We all know this. So if we get upper air cold over these areas, that is going to sink down to the surface. Maybe not as intensely, of course, as it is up above, but that is, you know, really what you want to see. And that's how things start. We have a lot of warmth in the upper air. This is all compared to normal. So the reds are very far above normal. And that's really what we're dealing with here over the past couple days. And still until about the 10th, we're going to be dealing with these far above average upper air temperatures. So really any cold that we have at the surface is not coming from above. It's just kind of moving in at the surface. Once we get colder temperatures over the east in the upper air, that's going to help things to really be able to sink down and really, really cool things off. That's what they have out west, and that's why we're seeing tons of snow and tons of cold. But watch what happens right around the 10th. We start to see this warmth moving eastward. The cold is also moving eastward. And we really just continue to see this happen over time, even to the point where by the 12th, 13th, we actually have warmth building onshore for the west coast. And this is going to continue to help this cold move further and further eastward, and also this warmth move out. So let's keep going. And as we reach about the 14th, we finally see that cold arrive for the east, but it only worsens over time. Look at the 15th, 16th, and then even the 17th here, where we have deep cold located over the east. So a lot of people have been leaving comments. You know, I go through this stuff on the background every single day without putting it in the video. But a lot of people are like, you know, what you showed in the thumbnail isn't in the video at all. But really, it's just based on what I'm seeing for the overall pattern. Even if a model's not showing it come to fruition at the surface, that doesn't really matter, because again, the specifics aren't something that's going to matter at all. It's going to change run after run after run. So I don't care if the European model shows a snowstorm or not when it's 10 or 15 days out. What I care about is are all the ingredients there, and that's really what we're seeing for the 10th, you know, through the 14th through the 20th time frame of February here. And that's what we're talking about in these videos. So the thumbnails reflects my overall thoughts for the pattern, not really what we're seeing, you know, the model show on the precipitation type, because that doesn't matter. We all agree on that. It's going to change every single run. It's these overall big picture pattern things that really hold true over time. So this is what I'm basing things off of course. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Be sure to subscribe for daily weather videos just like this one. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload, so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video.